Screen is recorded. Let's do this. So, what do you folks fancy talking about today? There's an intimate session. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you here. You have me for half an hour or an hour. What do you want to talk about?
I asked a question, Simon.
Go for it, mate.
I asked a question, Simon, about how much. So, as I mentioned to you a while ago, I'm starting to sell some stuff and carry on and doing my own thing. And the one thing that's getting to me at the minute is what markup should I put on my product? And I thought dawned on me last night that why am I worried about the markup if I should mainly concern myself at the minute with just keep rolling it over? So rather take 5% now, reinvest that, then take 5% on the 5% so it accumulates over time, and stop worrying about taking 15% now and then 15% on the next order. You get the point that I'm making, or am I overthinking
yes and no.
this?
What's the product first?
It's just sports cards breaking. So you buy a box of cards, people buy a slot, and then they get a team and they get the cards that they pull,
Sports
and they pay a fee for that.
Betting, did you say?
Breaking.
Like this?
So, okay. Yes. So basically, this easy example is there's a product that's just been released for the Premier League. There's 20 teams in the league, so you've got a box of 144 cards. There's signatures in there, limited edition cards, yada, yada, yada. And you sell slots. So a box might cost me, for argument's sake, 600 quid. I then sell 20 slots at 35 or 40 quid a slot, bearing in mind that once I have then opened the box, I've then got to post everybody their cards and everything else. So, as I said, my thought process was, how much do I look, or how much emphasis do I put on taking a larger profit cut at the start, or do I just, keep turning it over, which is ultimately what I want to do for the next few months.
First time in a long time, I'm absolutely stumped. I don't know if I'm becoming a dinosaur, but I'm still stuck at the first question. Sports.
So the easiest way to look at it is it's effectively gambling. You will have heard of or you might have heard of sports cards being sold for astronomical values. There's LeBron James cards that have gone for millions, and there's recently been something that might actually interest you is the first edition Nintendo Super Mario was recently traded for a Tom Brady rookie card that was valued at over $500,000. So what you basically do is, like with the Premier League, there's 20 teams. You basically sell a spot in the break for, let's say, 30 quid a spot. There's 20 spots, that's 600 quid. I open it up. Let's say your team that you get is Arsenal. You'll get all the Arsenal cards that are in the box, and I then post them to you. And it's essentially a form of gambling because people want the big hits. They want the cards that are worth a lot of money or have got a signature on them. It's a very big, when I look at it, it just reminds me of crypto back in 2017 and when things started to run up. So, yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you, mate. I have no idea. I think whether I'm having a slow day, but I'm still stuck at the sports card breaking question. Even though you just explained it, I think I'm being very special today. But and then you completely lost me with the breaking the cards. So I'm going to give this one more stab. So when I was a kid, I used to buy like a football magazine, and there'd be loads of little, and I'd buy stickers. There'd be empty spaces of the team. This would be Man U or whatever. And I'd buy little packs of cards for like, 3 quid, and they'd have like 10 stickers in, and I'd go and put the stickers in the book. So, is this anything like this? It sort of is, or is it not?
It's the same as that, but basically think of it in the sense of, instead of you buying an individual packet, you went and you bought a box. And you said to your mate, there's 20 teams in the Premier League. If you give me 5 quid, you can get all the Man United stickers that are in the box.
So £5.
That's essentially
basically match.
what it boils
Okay.
down to.
And how much does it cost you to buy
Yeah.
a big box?
So I bought a big box. Let's use the Premier League one. It cost me $699. I worked it all back. I think it eventually, for me, landed here in the UK. It cost me 535 quid.
$5.35. Okay, and so how many cards in this box?
There's 144 cards in the box.
Oh, well, yeah, 'cause
There's
20
144
teams.
cards in the box. And there's 20 teams. Yeah. So, and then your other thing that you need to bear in mind is obviously once you've pulled the cards out, you've then got your postage. So I'm working on the basis that there's 20 people that you've got to post an envelope out to. If you want to send it first class, it's 183. And then what was the other thing?
And could these
Yeah,
people
that's
not buy
basically
their
it.
own box for £535?
They can go and import it from the States if they want. Or if they can find it in the UK, they'll pay about 650 to 700 quid for a box.
Man, I'm afraid I'm still gonna have to give you like a really shit answer. Like with something like this, it's hard because you literally can't add too much markup. Like if all of a sudden you said, right, you're gonna charge effectively £1,000 divided by however many people do it. A lot of people go, okay, maybe he's taking the stress and hassle away from me. £1,000, yeah, I could get away with, I could. But if you then wanted to charge $2,000, they'll be like, screw that. I'll actually buy it myself from the States. I'm not going to spend an extra 1,500 quid or whatever. So it's what I call a price sensitive product, I guess. It's a bit like a massage. A massage, typically, anyone's prepared to spend between, anything from £30 to £100 for a massage. What you'd struggle to charge is £500 for a massage. So I guess it's a bit price sensitive. So I think with yours,
because my thought process at the minute is, if you've got 100 quid and you make 5 quid on that, then you use 105 quid to buy product, and then you make another 5% on the 105, and then it compounds the more you do it. And I think that's what I should more be focused on in the minute, is just get it done, roll it over as many times as you can, try and build a reputation within the breaking community, and then the markup will sort itself out in the future, because it is, as you say, it is price sensitive. It's also release sensitive, because obviously as a product gets released, everybody wants it. And then the longer it's out there, the less of a demand there is for the product.
What you're doing is right. Obviously, I don't know how much markup you could put on, and I think you're just going to have to. A lot of the time with pricing, you simply just got to put your thumb in the air and go, right, I'm going to put this and see what happens. And if people are still buying without questioning, then okay, it's still too cheap. When people are starting to go, maybe is it? Then I think you got it about right. But but when you put it too high and then you get 0 sales, then you. So I've always used data. I simply just put stuff out. But what I tend to do is I always start cheap. No, I don't like the word cheap, but massively undervalued, and then I progress it up. And then eventually you'll get to the point where it's like, oh, this is a bit expensive, and then you can sort of dial it back, and then you find your yardstick. But with a low margin business, which is what yours will be, you really need a high volume to make it a profitable business as a whole. And then there's also this threshold where eventually, like you said, you'll be doing so much volume that you'll get critical mass, where you then become the go-to company for these cards, and then you'll have inherent trust. Like, I mean, if you look at it for gold and silver in the UK, it's bullionbypost.co.uk. Terrible margin business. I used to be a bullion dealer, and I know firsthand I had a 1.4% net margin business, which is just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. There was me turning over £2 million a year, and I was thinking I was Billy Big Balls, but what is 1.4% on £2 million? It's bugger all. So, I think you have to do this until the point that you own the whole market, or not own the whole market, but you have mass volume and a mass following. And I think the second, I think actually the real value for you is, I think the cards, is simply your first part of your product architecture.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's already I've got stuff that people use to protect the cards that I've placed an order with from China. I've already got in contact with some of the big breakers that do high volume in the UK, and they've already said that they've seen the product. I sent it to them to have a look at, with the whole idea that when the product arrives here, I've already got somebody to sell it to, and they've already said that they'll take a large consignment from me when it arrives. So this, yeah, like you say, I think maybe I need to switch my attention a bit more on this. It's just more of a attention play than anything else, to get the name out there, to get the secondary product that's coming from China, to make that be the main profit, because you can make a good profit on that.
And then also, let's say eventually you've got 5,000 customers that have bought from you and they're all happy and you're doing well. You've got 5,000 customers that would then be more open-minded about another product, similar to, I don't know what an equivalent thing is, but
I see you've noted NFTs there. That's also where the space is going. There's a lot happening about that at the minute in the space. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you then start an e-commerce business on NFT, an NFT e-commerce business, basically. Yeah, why not? Just like eBay and Amazon are platforms in itself. Like, you can set up an eBay business. You can set up an Amazon business and sell shoes on Amazon if you wanted. Well, at the moment, NFTs is a whole new uncharted platform. And there are market spaces. So there are NFT market spaces out there at the moment. But I don't know if there's anyone that's owning that space. You could become like a merchant in NFTs on these platforms. I don't know. This is yeah. I'm so sorry, but I think this is like the worst answer I've ever given to anyone in the history of me doing live sessions.
No, like I said, I mean the concern for me, and to be fair, I mean I've spoken to Kat about it as well, and it's more about voicing it, hearing it out loud, and hearing somebody's thoughts on where your thought process is. And like you say, I never thought about just using the breaks as a form of attention play and get the business in the background with the stuff that's coming from China to protect the cards, and use that as a real income or growth generator from that perspective. So already that's brought in a different way of looking at, which then obviously changes the focus on, okay, let's not worry so much about the profit. Make sure you get your money back in a little bit more, and then use the attention from that to sell the other product.
Like 9 out of 10 businesses, the profit is never in the front product. It's always in the back end product. Always. Nearly always. And the other thing is, like, when you have like physical products, if you have so like if you have a shop, like whether it be a grocery store or a petrol station, it doesn't matter. Like a typical markup would be 3x markup. Because what typically happens, so if you're buying, let's say it's costing you £1 to buy a product, typically what most shops will do is sell it at £3. And the reason being, and by the way, that should be your minimum, because what happens is you do a markup, 100% markup for generic business operations, OPEX. You have 100% of the markup that will cover your staff, etc. And then the last 100% of that markup is basically profit. So yeah, you may be selling at 300% markup, but you won't actually be left with that much. And I think
definitely.
Yeah, so I guess that's my final answer, my shitty answer to your question. But it does lead us to another point, which is general business numbers, which to me, this is like the simplest thing. It's like the first thing you should learn in business, but it's quite not alarming, but I'm just surprised at how many people aren't aware of just normal business numbers. And so let's just go through them. So you don't need to be an accountant to really get a good grasp of your business numbers. So typically you have sales. Whoop, I'm just going to mute this. So you have sales, then you have your COGS. So this is cost of goods sold. So this is all the hard costs that you need to facilitate a sale. So in this case, you could, like, if you're selling some, so your COGS in your example, Raymond, will be the postage and packaging, the shipping, the import tax, and then also the cost of the box, or if you're a restaurant and you're selling, something for a dish for £10, the food costs, the direct, would be, and let's say it's £5 in natural food costs, that will be the COGS, so the direct costs. And also if you have any salespeople, and their commissions, I guess you can call that a COG as well. So you then have that. So you then have COGS. You're then left with your gross profit. So that's that line there. And then you have your OPEX. So this is your operational expenditure, your normal business outgoings. And then you're left with your EBITDA, your earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, and coronavirus. I call it EBITDA. And I created this as a joke like last year because, but you'd be surprised at how many great businesses are now utter bags of mess since lockdowns and stuff. And so you may have had a business which has done really, really well over the last 3 years, and on paper it's worth X amount, but post lockdown world, it's worth nothing. So EBITDA is, I'm adding extra weight to the last 12 months of revenue and profit if I'm looking at buying a business right now. So you're then left with EBITDA, and then after the tax, depreciation, amortization, all the other stuff, you're then left with your net profit. So I don't know, just simple terms is, a business could be doing, 10 grand a month. Direct costs or your COGS from that could be 2 grand. So let's say this is all per month. So you're then left with 8 grand as in your gross profit. Your OPEX, let's say your general staff costs, your electricity, all your lease, whatever. That could just be another 3 grand. So you're then left with 5 grand EBITDA or EBITDA. And then after your costs, sorry. You then I should have done these in different colors actually. One sec. Let's start again. This will be confusing otherwise eventually. I should have done this on my other doodle pad, not MS Paint. So you're then left with 8 grand. That's your profit. Then minus your costs, minus 2 grand. Let's say, what do we say? 3 grand a month. You're then left with 5 grand. Now your other costs, your other taxes and debt servicing costs or whatever, you could be, after you could end up with like 4 grand basically after that. So what then happens? So you got your gross profit and gross margin and net profit, but also the other sort of metrics to look at is what is your gross margin and net margin. They're completely different. So a lot of people get confused between gross profit and gross margin. Well, it's simply the difference between here. So your gross margin here is 80%, but your net margin is 40%. And this is as simple as it gets. I mean, I could go into the weeds a bit more, but but they're just basic numbers. And one thing which I think I alluded to yesterday is a little M&A tactic or an M&A, so merger and acquisitions tool that I've used in the past. So I'm just going to delete all of this. Everyone happy for me? In fact, I'll just minimize it. Stand by. Whee! There we go. So when I buy a business, I look for a business that does at least a 30% net margin minimum. Woo! Get away. That was a video it just produced. Net margin minimum, or sometimes depending on the business, a 10% or less. Net margin. Now, the reason I may sometimes look at a very low margin business is that these are actually the easiest businesses ever to double your profits. So when I used to go around buying businesses, one back in the day, I used to actually look for 10% net margin businesses. So an example of that would be, let's say there's a business that's doing 20 grand a month in sales. And I'm going to make this very simple here. And let's say I'm just going to call this outgoings. So general, in essence, it's OPEX, but let's just call it outgoings. And let's say it's doing 18 grand a month in outgoings. And guess what? You're left with 2 grand profit a month. Okay. With me so far with this example here? So nice, simple business. Okay. Or not simple, but it's easy numbers. So this business, although it's got a really high revenue, it's got, it's only making 2 grand a month profit. Now, what most business owners do is go, right, I want to double my profit in my business this year. And so what tends to happen is that they focus at the top end. And they go, right, okay, that means I need to make... And in reality, if they do it, what ends up happening is that they've doubled their revenue. And guess what? Because they haven't probably streamlined their business a bit, their costs also double. What's the net result? Well, you end up with then £4,000 profit per month. So yeah, you've hit your goal, you pat yourself on the back, but you've basically scaled an inefficient business. And there's a much easier way to double your profit in this scenario. You basically have to reduce your outgoings by 11.11%. So, for example, if you are smarter, or not necessarily smarter, but if you took these outgoings and all you did was reduce it by 11.11%, you double your profits. So if you do the maths, what is 11? So 18 grand times 11.11%. Oh, probably 11.12 maybe. But yeah, in fact, what is it? 1 second, let's try this again. 18 grand times 11.12. Yeah, basically it's either or. But yeah, long story short, you just need to reduce your outgoings by 11.11%, and guess what? Your outgoings are now 16k. Guess what? You now have doubled your profit overnight. And what I used to do when I was buying some of these businesses, this is one strategy I had. I whenever I went into a business, I'd have a whole bunch of different strategies, but one of them, and it's normally the low hanging fruit, is like, can I reduce the outgoings by 11%? Because if I can, I've just doubled my profit. It's really easy. Now, I think probably looking at the list over here, as in those on the Zoom call right now, from what I know, I think probably 30-40% of you are business owners or small business owners, etc. Well, I'm pretty sure all of you here could reduce your outgoings by 11%. Easy. But here's the thing, it's not the same with every business. So it's a sliding scale. If we just move this over here, and off the top of my head, I haven't done this calculation for a while. If you have a 10% net margin business, in order to, let's say you wanted to double your profit, you need to reduce your outgoings by 11.11%. If you have a 20% net margin business, you then need to reduce your outgoings by, I think, 25%. And then I forgot the other sort of stuff, but it's a lot more. I think when you get to like 40% net margin business, you then have to reduce your outgoings like something stupid like 80%. So it doesn't really work. So this is just a little strategy I used to do for low margin businesses. And I think most people could reduce their outgoings by 11%. In fact, I should probably do this again in my businesses, because I know that we're bloated. And normally when you find a business that has been running for about 5 years or so, they will be bloated with random costs, random stuff. I mean, I'm just thinking my office. So we have an annex connected to the house. So I'm in the main house here, and the annex is just next door. In the office, we spend £150 a month on freaking water. We have a water fountain. I'm like, well, if I was trying to be lean, I'd kill that water fountain straight away. But I'm not, because water's essential, and I like my staff to have clean water. So I don't know. I'm just yabbering on here. So why did I even start talking about all this profit stuff? Yeah, I don't know why I did this. I've completely gone off track here. But yeah, it's just a handy thing to know. If you have a low margined business, then an easy way to double your profit is just have a little cut outgoing slaughter, if that makes sense. What else are we talking about? And by the way, like when I work this out on my, because I play with my calculator all the time, because I'm not very good at maths, I end up just constantly playing the numbers. And when I came up with this, I was like, surely there's something wrong here. This seems too easy. And when I bought my first distressed business, one of the first, I actually did this. And I literally doubled the profit in the space of an hour. I simply wrote a whole bunch of emails to some providers, which we weren't in contract. I was like, thanks, I'm the new owner here. The business is a mess. I'm so sorry. I'm having to make cutbacks. I may come back to you in the future, but at the moment I just need to get a handle on my finances. So can this month be the last subscription or the last whatever? And I think I did more than double. I think I cut my outgoings by like 20%. I was ruthless. But what happened is I more than doubled the profit of the business overnight. And that was great. I was like, oh, maybe I should do this again with other businesses. And then later on, that business failed, but for other reasons. But so that can't be your only bullet, if that makes sense. It's a bit like putting high octane fuel in your car. Yes, it'll make your business run more efficient, but if you've got a shit driver, you're still going to crash the car, if that makes sense. So this is the equivalent of putting high octane fuel in your car. Still not going to stop you from crashing into a corner if you go around too fast. And yeah, Jamie, you're correct. So, by the way, you don't just stop there. Yeah, it's a lot as you said, it's a lot easier to reduce your outgoings by 11% than doubling your revenue. But what you actually do in reality is this: you let's just delete it all. I need more space. Let's go back to this example where so obviously this is on a monthly basis. So what you end up doing is very quickly you can easily uplift your sales by 10%. You could reduce your outgoings by 10%. And with some tax things, you can reduce a whole bunch of tax. But even if you just did this, increase your outgoings by income by 10%, and then reduce this by 10%, let's have a look at the difference. So before, we started off with £2,000 profit. And by the way, increasing sales by 10% is freaking nothing. In fact, there's a whole bunch of things. You can either increase. So when you're focusing on revenue, you can increase a whole bunch of different things. So clients, transactions, and what else? Clients, transaction, lifetime value. I guess they're the main ones. So you can basically increase the amount of clients you get by a little bit. So you could do a bit more marketing. You can then increase the amount of transactions per month or per year. Now, let's say you obviously can't. It'll be hard to increase the amount of transactions per month, maybe, but maybe over a year you can increase the amount of transactions. Like, what side sales could you do, or down sales? Like, I remember I bought a yoga mat for my wife a while back, and I went to the checkout and I paid complete order, and it did the standard side sale. It was like, with this yoga mat, most people buy this water bottle as well. Would you like this? No. Would you like this guide, this yoga book? No. And there was like 6 different side sales or down sales. I was like, no. However, I was a bit stubborn, but a lot of people would have gone, yeah, actually, I will buy this water bottle or this guided meditation track or whatever. And what happens by people doing those side orders, it actually increases the amount of transactions per year. Or if you can increase your transactions per year but a little bit, over the long run, it helps. And also increasing the lifetime value of the customer. So price as well. Here's the other one. So how long can you keep a customer for? If you can increase that by a little bit, that's going to help. And also you could increase the prices. So it's, you could do all sorts of different things. But let's just say you focus on this lot, just a tiny bit. Ooh, what's going on with my pen here? My pen, I don't know what's going on, but my pen is just, I'm not even touching the mat. This is annoying. Is there a button? Okay. Phew. Pen had a little meltdown there. So let's say you did all of these really badly and you only increase your sales by 10%. Well, let's do the maths. Again, I'm going to have to get my calculator here because I don't trust myself. So you're now doing 22 grand a month. And you've reduced your let's call that 11.11% like we did. So now your outgoings are 16 grand. Well, there we go. You've tripled your bottom line. And what have you actually done? You've reduced outgoings by 11% and increased sales by 10%. And then you've ended up with a 300% uplift. So bear in mind, this example is with a 10% net profit, net margin business. Okay, so it doesn't work with every business. It's just food for thought at the very least. So let's have a look at the chat. Sam Dunn, have you done any side / upsells with the float business? Yes, we do. We have. So here is, let's go to Float Norwich. I'm just curious. I asked the web guy to do a little update on the website. I'm just curious if it's there yet. No, it's not there yet. So with Float Norwich, it's we've actually, it's actually an efficient business, but it's just not for me. It makes too little profit for me. Because I was looking at, how can I increase the amount of clients, the amount of times they transact with us, the longevity of a client, and also the price. So when we look at Float Norwich, like a single float, if you wanted to buy a 1 hour float, it's just £55, okay? And so we had a whole bunch of people paying 55 quid. But what we do is we have a subscription plan with this. So you can become a float club member, a float member, for £55 per month. So what we tend to say is that once someone comes in and pays 55 quid for their float, we then go, well, you've just spent 55 quid. Do you want to turn this into, do you want to be a member for 55 quid? And then you can have another 2 floats, etc. So the float club has a 6-month contract. So yeah, but that way we're increasing the amount of transactions. Or no, I guess this is more longevity. So instead of having a one-off customer, we've then got someone for 6 months. So that's that. We also have big buckets of medical grade Epsom salt, which they can buy and take home. But also we then got another product, which is the Cryo Club. So they can have 4 freezing sessions a month. So for those not familiar, I'm just trying to find... Sorry. Go away. So I've got too many screens open. That's my Discord. You don't want to see my Discord. General... Sorry, I'm just trying to get the... Is it this one? Yeah, so this is what the chamber looks like. It basically takes you down to minus 130 degrees Celsius, and it's pretty cool. But what was I trying to talk about? Yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, we got we also try and side sell into the Cryo Club as well, and there's all sorts of other bits and bobs. But yeah, so that that is it. There's all sorts of things, and like before, we used to use some of the spare rooms for like doing meditation groups or yoga groups or stuff. But then it's just too much of a faff, so we just stopped it. We just do these 2 things now. Stuart, what are your thoughts on Facebook's alterations to their analytics? To quote Facebook, to improve our ad metrics offerings, we're replacing several metrics with new ones that may provide more actionable insights. I call bullshit on Facebook. That's what I call. Basically, Apple has taken a massive right hook to Facebook by iOS 14, which basically means Apple users can't be tracked, basically. And so ad spend. So this is, I think, is a good and a bad thing. Like, I've got one business. So I'm just trying to think. So where was it? Which ad account? I can't remember. No, I think I just deleted it. I can't. Yeah, every time I'm creating an advert at the moment, it's giving me all sorts of warnings, like from the release of Apple's iOS 14, blah blah. It is basically putting a massive spanner in the works. And so what's likely to happen is your ad. In fact, let's talk about this a bit further. So let's get rid of this. So with Facebook, they do the best campaign. One sec. I have to show you at the same time. So let's just create an ad. Here we go. So when you're creating a Facebook advert, it gives you different sort of things that you can do. So you can either send direct traffic to a website. You can do it for engagement. So Facebook will then try and get as many shares, comments, and likes. App installs, video views, get as many video views as possible. Lead gen, where Facebook will basically take in the opt-in details, name and email address, phone number, all that sort of stuff. Or you can open up a live chat. But the thing that really works is conversions. Now, the conversion function is really handy, because what happens is you set up a pixel. So, for example, let's actually look at this one which we just did. I forgot which one it was. Conversion. I deleted the ad set. Damn it. What about this one? Ad set. Where was it? That was an impressive burp. Whatever that was. Bought WAP. Which I'm trying to find it. 1 second. What is a thank you page? Thank you page. Thank you page. No. So I'm gonna have to minimize a few things on. Here we go. Yeah. So, for example, let's take the WAP, the Wealth Action Plan. This is the thank you page. So when someone becomes a new WAPper, they all then go through to this page, okay? And so what I do, or what you can do, is you tell Facebook, this is the page where everyone, this is what we count as a conversion, so to speak. And so you put your pixel on your website, and then you give them that link. And that's called a custom conversion. So let's just call it custom conversion. So you're basically telling Facebook what you think a conversion is, and you basically put in the thank you page. So you then create your adverts, all based around this conversion. And what happens is it will then drive traffic to your website, etc. And then you'll get conversions. So, for example, on this campaign over here, on the 9th of April, it was only short-lived. I only spent $1,000, and this one I only spent, $4,000 or whatever. I put the thank you page for the free trial thank you page, and it got 97 free trialers. This one got 29, etc. Now, there's a 50 conversion learning window here. So I think this one, if I click on this, it should say learning. It's off. Yeah. But basically, once Facebook has gone and got you 50 conversions, it then goes, okay. So based on the 50 people that have converted here, I know what you're looking for. And so Facebook, I'm hearing some weird group noises here. I'm just going to mute everyone. Sorry. It's a bit off-putting. Mute all. I had a live session once, and I swear someone was having sex whilst listening to my live session. Honestly, there's some people. Like the other day, I don't know if you were here, there was a guy that was just lying half naked in bed. Did you see that? But yeah, I swear there were 2 moaning adults, a female and a male, whilst on my live chat. I don't know if it was a joke, but I don't know. It's not like I've got a sexy voice or anything. I definitely don't. So what was I going to talk about? Metrics. Oh yeah. So what happens is it goes out And once you get 50 conversions, Facebook will then analyze those 50 people for similarities and go, in its algorithm, we go, these 50 people all have this in common. Whatever the traits they may be, that you're always on Facebook or you like horses, I don't know. And then it'll then go searching in its algorithm and its whole database for everyone that looks like these 50 people. And then it works really well. It works tremendously well. And this is where I guess conspiracy. So about 5 years ago, I said to everyone on my Facebook and live sessions, I was like, I promise you, Facebook is listening to you, listening to everything you say. If you have your phone on you, Facebook are listening to you. And everyone's like, Siam, you're such a conspiracy theorist. That's bullshit. Facebook, they wouldn't be allowed to listen to you through your phone. They wouldn't be allowed to turn on your microphone without you knowing or access your. And I was like, well, screw this. I'm going to game Facebook. And Ellie, my wife, was in on this. And so what we did, probably 5 years ago, because Ellie and I noticed that whenever we were talking about things, Facebook would then serve us adverts based on what we were talking about. Has anyone experienced that before? Yes, yeah, I see Raymond nodding. Yeah, so hopefully, I think this is obvious now. But Ellie and I, we proved it, and so we secretly, in another room without our phones, we agreed that we'd create a made up story. So we went and bought a fictitious horse, and we called her. I forgot what we called her. It was a female horse that we bought. And we gave it, and I can't even remember the name. It was something like Melody or something. I don't know. No, it wasn't Melody. It was an M. Anyway, and we kept talking about this horse. And we're like, oh, what about the horse stables and the horse feed and the horse? Like for about a week or two, we were talking about this fictitious horse. And guess what? Within a week, Facebook started serving us horse adverts for horse food, stables, horse insurance. I was like, what? There's insurance for horse? Yeah. And guess what? They'd done that just because, and the only way that they could, and by the way, we made sure that we did zero Googling. So I never Googled anything horse related because I wanted to make this a fair experiment. And guess what? Within a week and a half, we had shitloads of horse adverts. So that was our own personal proof that, Facebook were listening to us. However, time has passed and it's no longer a conspiracy theory because it's part of the user agreement. They can listen to your microphone if you've accepted it, which we all have if you're on Facebook. They have access to our phones, our list on our contacts list, everything. Anyway, so what's happened? Yeah, so the conversion function is really good. It's really good. This is why, like, if you've probably right now, if you've clicked on the Realistic Trader website or the WAP or whatever, Facebook are probably serving you trading adverts right now or business coaching adverts or whatever. And it's through this. So what's happened is Tim Cook has come along and has gone, right, Zuckerberg, we're going to have you. And Facebook, Apple said there's no need for Facebook to track people and blah, 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 blah. And so when iOS 14K comes out or whatever, Apple tracking stops. And so what's happening now, this is good for people that don't want to be tracked, I guess. But for advertisers, it's bad. And I'm already experiencing an uptick in ad costs because Facebook cannot, track you as well as it could. It's not getting me the results as I want. And so I'm finding that in certain campaigns, the cost per lead is going up. So, and it makes sense. And so so it's basically at the moment we're going to be driving things via traffic campaigns, not conversion campaigns. So yeah, that's my long-winded answer to the Facebook alterations. I'm not fully up to date with all their algorithm changes and stuff. I would find a Facebook expert. I'm just a Facebook hack. But yeah, I say a Facebook hack. I'm spending about $2,000 a day of my own money on Facebook. So I do know a fair bit about Facebook simply through just doing stuff but yeah. So what else? Let's get out of there. So let's have a look at the chat box. Unfortunately. Sam Dunn, have you tested out the payment plan option when they pay for their first session? As in, if they don't cancel, it will put them on the 6-month membership, or do you just go for a membership when they come in? So I think you're talking about the float stuff. Is that right, Sam? Yeah. So, have you tested out the payment plan when they first? Yeah, we did actually. And it didn't go down well because people are like, what? I don't even know if I like floating. I don't want to be stuck in a 6-month contract, blah, blah, blah. So what we actually did, in fact, now I think about it, I'm a bit removed from float because the general manager, Sarah, is worth her weight in Epsom salt. She's just amazing. She deals with everything. So, and what, in fact, I now remember, what we do is this. We have a first-time trial package. So let's just call it first timers, and I think it's £100. And for £100 or £105, they get 3 floats. So it works. Well, floats. I can't spell. And what we found with floating is that when someone does 1 float, they don't get the full experience because floating is a weird thing. A lot of people spend their first float, panicked, or they're not sure, they're worried about oversleeping or whatever, and you end up switching off 45 minutes in, and then you're like, oh, you've got to get out in like 15 minutes. And so we found that when someone does, it takes about 3 floats to get used to floating butt naked in pitch black, basically, or some people have the lid up or whatever, and so so they do the three floats. If for those that do the first time package, and then at the end of the 3 floats, we then offer the £55 per month thing, and then that works really well. Or if someone comes in who isn't on this package, they pay that £55 for the float, and then at the end of the float, hey, how was it? And if they like it, they're like, oh, that was really good. Then we just casually talk about the £55 per month thing times 6. And also, it's not like we don't restrict it to the person. So that for £55 a month, they get 2 floats, and we don't care who comes into float, whether they use both of them or they give it to their friends and family. So sometimes, if someone's going to be away on holiday or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm going to miss out on the floats. I mean, we don't care. They're customers. I mean, they could, sell a float to a friend. We don't care. In fact, we actually prefer it if they give away those 2 floats a month, because then we got 2 new people to talk to. And then those 2 people that came in, they go, oh, actually, and then we got 2 opportunities to sell another, float or whatever. So, yeah, we're not precious. This is why I think, yeah, whereas gym memberships are always stuck to you, aren't they? Which, yeah, it makes sense for some businesses, but yeah, as I said, if anyone in the Norwich area wants to buy a float, Norwich, I'm selling my 90% for 50k, massively undervalued, massively. I just need to get, yeah. So, Jamie, I get a WAP advert every day, lol, I'm so sorry. Yeah, here's the thing. With Facebook, and I don't know if I'm being an idiot now, but before you could create an exclusion list with Facebook. So what you could do is you get a big old spreadsheet of all the email addresses of every client that you have. Let's say it's for the WAP. So I get all my client lists for the WAP, which I have done recently, and then you upload that CSV to Facebook, and you call this an audience. So you could just call it WAP clients. I don't know. So when you make an advert, so if you go to the advert bit, am I sharing my screen? Let's double check. I am. Yes, cool. So when you go to what am I talking about? Exclusion list. So let's just click on a random one which isn't running. Edit. So here, I'm using a saved audience, but if I wanted to create a new audience, I can actually click edit. Sorry. You can actually exclude people from seeing your adverts. So if you don't want your clients to be bombarded with adverts, you simply click your custom audience that you just built. But what's happened recently, and I need to double check this, Facebook are not allowing me to create a custom audience anymore. So I cannot upload my WAP, client list to Facebook so you guys don't get spammed. Now, typically what happened, and now I think whether they've moved it into a different position or they've just stopped it, but normally what I would do to create a custom audience is I'd go to Business Tools, I'd go to Event Manager, I then click up here, come on, come on internet, here we go, yeah, whatever, create custom audience. So I'd click that, and it would then normally give me an option to upload a list. However, it's changed. There's no option in this box to upload a CSV list anymore. Nothing down here, nothing down here. And yeah, and even when I Google, can't upload list to Facebook, every list, every article it gives you, it says go to business settings, go to, here we go, blah, 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 but it just doesn't exist anymore. And I'm not sure whether this is something to do with the, the data protection or the Apple thing or whatever, but it just, I cannot upload a list at the moment. So I do apologize if you are seeing ad trading or WAP ads from me. I just can't get my exclude list anymore. Oh, shit. You can't see my screen. Oh, okay. Hey-ho. You didn't miss much. So, yeah. Holy shit. It's 54 minutes. Wow. I thought we've only been speaking for half an hour. Any questions? Any last questions? Has today helped? Or have I just waffled on again? I never know whether these sessions are helping or not. Few.
No, they're always good.
And you've been here for quite a lot of them, Mike, so thank you for being here. Emotional support. Nice. Jamie, expenses reduction to double profit, the gold nugget today, I think. Yeah, it really is. It's so simple. So simple. And yeah, you know what? You could literally have a full-time living, go around buying businesses or chunks of businesses and just of low margin businesses and just doubling their profits by cutting costs. And upticking sales a little bit. As I said, you only need 10% up in sales, 10% down or 11% down in costs, and you've tripled your profit. It's easy. Oh, I say easy. There's a lot of bullshit that comes with buying a business. So, any last questions? 3, 2, 1. Done. Cool. Well, thanks, folks. I'll see you soon. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Probably crypto, seeing as it's exploded. Yeah. Tomorrow is probably going to be a crypto session. See ya. Bye.
Bye.